Okay, so we got that zipper done. I tried my best as possible to make sure you guys could see what I was doing. So basically I just filled in with Aves, and then after I did the Aves, I did little like hatch marks and a little bit of roughness into it. So when I sand it down once it's all hardened up and then paint it, it'll all come together. Right now it just looks really messy. And then what I did is I sculpted a little tiny zipper up there. And then I did this one off camera because I just couldn't get this one in the camera with being at such a weird angle. So I did that as well. So that's the zippers are done, and we move on to the hair next. Alright, we're going to start the hair on Power Girl. And this is the hair I'm going to follow. I want to do this style. I kind of like the way the hair goes over the ear. I like the way the hair kind of flows around her face like this in a way, as you can kind of see. I mean, even you're looking at it, you think it's coming straight down, but it kind of flows around. I mean, even though she has her head tilted, because this Power Girl doesn't have her head tilted, so I can't really do a complete flow going around, but I could kind of follow it in a way. So, what I want to do is, I want to start off the hair, and this is kind of my own little thing. I want to start with this bang here, how this style is here. So if I can have this starting as a starting point, I can work the hair going around, and I can work the hair going back over there. So, what I like to do is something when I'm trying to find a style. I did this in a past video where I did the hair of Age of Apocalypse Rogue. I'll link that in the description so you can see what I did. So I'm going to start with metal pieces. So I drew that bang on this piece of metal, and I got to cut this out. And then what I'm going to do is I'll put that piece over the head like that, and I'll kind of bend it. And then that's going to be my starting point, because then I can start doing the stylized work. Her hair, the way she draws, doesn't do a lot of, line work. It's kind of more stylized, and I'm going to try to follow all that style as much as possible, where it's not like a lot of lines and strokes and stuff. It's more like it's, like this part is in, and this comes out, and this is, so it's going to be like a lot of weird styling. It's kind of hard to explain, but we'll kind of start working on it. So I got to cut that piece out, and then I got to attach that onto there. So as also a starting point is I'm just kind of marking up where I'll be putting the hair marks, as you can kind of see with my blue pencil. So I'm going to have the hair come down around here. It's going to flop around there, come over here like this. So the back of the hair will kind of flop here. This will come around. And I'm just kind of giving myself an idea where everything's going to start. So if you look over here, this piece goes right over the eye there. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm trying to kind of mimic it. So it's going to have this going over, and just got to work it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up this piece here, and then I'll glue that onto the statue, and then I'll make my next decision of trying to figure out how to get it working and stuff. It's kind of my process, because the main thing too is I want a piece of metal to keep this secured. I don't want to just sculpt that and then they could snap and break. I want something that's really going to keep it strong while I'm working on it. So get this piece of metal cut, and we'll start attaching it and going from there. Alright, so it's been a few weeks or a week or so since my last post, and what I did is I cut out this piece of metal, and tonight I have some extra magic sculpt, and what I did was I rolled out the magic sculpt and I put a nice thin layer on the back of this hair piece. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because if I don't really kind of give this a secured piece on the back, when I try to sculpt on it, even though this stuff is pretty strong, like as you can see as I'm pushing it, if like you're sculpting, it's kind of wobbly. At least with this piece on here, it's going to be a little bit more secured and a little bit thicker, where it won't really, I could still crack it and it can fall off the piece. So I might do another layer on this side as well before I finish up. But as you can see in the head, there's a notch up there. So I dremeled out a notch and I made my little lines. So the hair piece is going to go something like this. I tried gluing it on already and it kind of flopped out, but it's going to go something like that. It's going to be like my starter piece of hair. So I think I'm going to try to get another layer on this piece, just get a little magic sculpt, and then once this is all kind of cured up, I'll come back and then we'll start getting this in the hair. Like I said, I tried gluing and it just didn't want to stay, and I have a funny feeling it would be flopping around. So this is kind of that key piece. So we'll get that finished up tonight and come back. Alright, quick update. The other night I had some extra Aves and it was rolled out really thin for a project I was working on. So I had a little bit of chunk left, so that's why I always like to have personal projects next to me. So I put this piece of Aves up here and I kind of cut out hair. At first I was going to try this piece of metal and wrap it around, but the only problem with the metal is if I have to kind of start chopping hair pieces off, it's very hard to cut the metal. And other thing is I couldn't get the metal wrapped around the head. I could if I cut it lower, but I just didn't like the way it was looking, and it just wasn't working too well. So I just wrapped the Aves around. And while it was starting to cure that night, I was kind of toying with it to try to give it a little bit of a loop going around. But the problem was it was so thin that even though it was pretty stiff, the sheer weight of it was pulling it down no matter what. And I tried rigging stuff underneath it and it didn't work out. So I like where it's at now. What I might do is I probably might get some more Aves again another night and kind of wrap it around here, kind of get my little curve going, at least to around this ear. And then maybe I could start working out, you know, all the hairstyle. And then if I have to, once this is thickening up on this end, if I have to drum out underneath to give that curve, I could Dremel out because I have the head going this way and I can actually get into it. If it was attached to the statue, then it would be a nightmare trying to get underneath, but since it's removable, it's going to work out pretty well. But that's where I'm at. Once I get some more Aves and I kind of work out the hair, I'll get my basic shape, and then what we'll do is when I'm ready to really start sculpting all the stylized hair, we'll come back and I'll do the fast video on all that. Alright, so as you see, I'm starting to build up the hair a little bit. I'm trying to get that shape going. So as of right now, I'm going to stop. It's not... the Aves is not going to let me bring these points out too well because it's going to be puffing this back here, especially in the back of the hair and a little bit up top. And I got to kind of bring these points out and then comes out a little bit more. And if I try to do it, it's not going to work and I'm not going to get the shape I want. So I like to build in sections every other day and stuff. It works better with me with hair. And you can see the reason why I put the A's pretty heavy back here is because I still got to get this dome effect. As you can see, it's kind of a bob hair. So, you know, I might build up a little bit more up over here as well, but this is just giving me the shape and the idea where I want. Now I did put a piece of metal under here just to help me get this point underneath the ear. And I'm going to kind of wing it a little bit too, because I know it's not going to be exactly like Amanda Connor's artwork because the face isn't sculpted in her style. But when I go to paint, you can even see with the light, when I go to paint her hair, I'm going to match this because I'm going to do blonde, and then I'll do some yellow, I'll do some white pearl up in here, so it'll help me get this effect and kind of bring out the hair a little bit more as well. But it's just a matter of building up a little bit by a little bit. So I got my kind of shape over here, and then if I have to, I could kind of sand this down, and then I could start working out the dome a little bit more, and then I could work out, you know, the hair over here. Because when when you have a bob haircut and you put it behind your ear, it's going to be very puffy over on this side. So I got to kind of work out these points, because as you can see on this hair, you see how this point comes up around the ear. So that's what I'm going to do with this ear over here. You know, we're going to have a piece come down and then come out around. So it's kind of like I'm just doing my basic shape where I want it and how it's looking. I just wanted to make sure when I'm looking at it down front that this side up top is good. You know, it might be a little bit puffier back over, you know, up on top and everything, but it's getting there. I'm gonna keep building it up, but just kind of the basic shape and where we're at.